words about him. Robert is a metal sculptor, working as an artist in Boulder County for over 45 years. He also has a business background in marketing, sales, and distribution. As a civilian, Robert was surprised when two combat veterans, a Ranger and a Marine, stopped by his metal shop and asked if they could help him sculpt an 8-foot-tall, 4,000-pound rooster. Wow, you don't see those everywhere, do you? In a heartbeat, Robert said, "Come on in, get your gloves on, let's go." The three of them went to work, heating, bending, and shaping piles of scrap iron into sweeping rooster feathers. Over months, they became a well-oiled team. Almost 1 year later, they rolled the finished rooster out of the shop. And then the Ranger asked another question. "What do we get to do next?" In a heartbeat, Robert said, "What if we build a huge sculpture that endeavors to tell a story about what it takes to come home from war?" And so began the grand experiment of the Warrior Storyfield. Welcome, Robert.
It's an honor to be here. And before I start, I want to introduce Bob Lacey in the background. He's that amazing gentleman with the white hair and the wise eyes. He was a Vietnam medic. He's been with me the most of the time that we've been doing this project. He is my rudder. Without him, I would be toast. And Paul Ferris there taking a film. Paul Ferris is a civilian, never been to war, never been in the military, but he just walked into our project one day and asked what was going on, and he had his camera clicking, and he's never left. And now he takes the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen, and he's documenting our process. So he's an amazing man also. In thinking about what to say today, I realized I have a half an hour to tell the story of a half a century. And so I'm gonna talk really fast. But I want to start here. I'm a civilian. I'm an unlikely person to be working with, for, around veterans. As a young man, when the Vietnam War came up, I got my draft notice. I was really unhappy about getting that draft notice. I was willing to go. I didn't want to go. And I'm gonna, before I started this, I realized I need to be raw and real when I talk. And so I'm gonna be that. But my father came to me, seeing the distress and what was going on, and he said to me, my father's a very gentle, quiet man. And he said in a very stern and hard voice, which I had very rarely seen, he said, "Don't you go to that war no matter what it takes." And that was a surprise to me. My father, I never thought of him as a military man, but in the process of this project, I never got to meet my dad as a real adult, let's put it that way. He had a stroke right after that, and I cared for him for 25 years. So I never got to talk to him about who he was, or as a person that knew what was going on as an adult. And bottom line is, I didn't go to war. The lottery got me out, and I did the unthinkable. I just went, I don't see warriors, I don't see war, I didn't have to do this. I am a typical civilian that doesn't want to know. So fast forward 50 years, or 40 years, let's make it 40 years. I'm in my shop, I just finished building it, and I'm starting this rooster, 4,000-pound rooster. Right? And I'm doing art because I found out that I carried a very long, hard depression in me for years and years and years. I wanted to do what many veterans want to do. I wanted to get out, and I found all kinds of ways to test that. And then I found one way to break it loose, and that was to make art. And I found out that expression is the antithesis of depression. And with expression, I could invite depression in and give it a place to live. Okay, so I'm building a rooster because it feeds me. It's my passion, it's my prayer. And in walks two veterans, combat veterans. One was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. He had just come back from war. He had lost a couple of his team. He was the sweetest man, and he was hot. And I mean hot with war. It was in his skin, it was coming out of his pores. Even though he spoke in a quiet voice, he was like this. And I met him, I never met him before. And he came with a friend of mine that I had known. His name is Brad Gallup, Major Brad Gallup. 24 years in the service, started as a Marine, became a major in the Air Force, ran a squadron of A-10 Warthog killer planes, built the airport in Desert Storm, and he introduced me to the helicopter pilot, and they asked me, can we help? And like I said, like she said here, I did. Let's go. What happened after that blew my mind. They stayed for 9 months, actually more like 11 months. I don't know which one is true, but I like 11 because I'm an artist, right? Okay. It was a long time they stayed, and in the process of doing that art, I realized it would be a whole hell of a lot more fun if I took the creative aspects of making that rooster and I handed it to them. And I backed out, and I supplied the steel, I did the hammering, I turned on the equipment, I just went like this and then fanned the flame. And they went to town building that rooster, and bottom line is we became this amazing, beautiful contact together. And I heard about their stories. I heard about their demons. And so they softened over those 9 months or 11 months. I saw them soften. And I went, whoa, that's awesome. But what I didn't know is they had totally flipped my script. They had totally turned me around and given me an assignment. And when Danny, big guy, right, grabs my shoulders and goes, what's next? You know what that is, right? Okay. I don't have to say it. So I said, yes, sir. And then I had to say, I don't know, excuse the word, but I'm going to say it because this is the way I said it to them. I don't know shit. I don't know anything about you guys. I am going to make such a mess of anything that I do. You have to teach me. And they went about teaching me, and we developed a theme of this. They wanted to build a demon. Does anybody know what a demon looks like? No. because demons are all bad, right? And I went, I'm not building a demon, sorry. That's out, you know. But we could build a dragon. And this came from Brad. He said we could build a dragon because a dragon is both good and fierce. It has the power to destroy, it has the power to protect. It is this awesome creature, and in this creature, we could project all of the emotions that a warrior feels when they go to war, when they're training for war, and when they deal with all the cacophony that goes around war. That's what's going to show up in the dragon. So our job as artists, as I'm talking to Brad and Danny, is we are going to explore every emotional state that goes into the warrior's psyche. And we're going to let that be seen in the sculpture so we can make visible the wounds when they come back. And I'm just saying that scares me to death. And I'm scared every day when I walk on a pad. So we set about doing this, and we set about setting the shape of the neck. It took weeks to shape the neck. So we're trying to get this, you know, like this thing, like, and then this posture with his wings is like this. Well, I asked Brad to do this for me. I said, what is the dragon doing? And he goes like this. And I go, that's a fighting stance. Boom, kill you, right? It's also a hugging stance. So we're trying to capture all that emotion and realize that this dragon is deployed by the military, deployed by the civilian population, deployed basically by me and you, right? All of us are behind this, right? And then they come home, they get out of the war, they get out of their uniform, and they cross the way over to civilian life. And like Bob tells me, I was a medic, I did, you know, major surgery in various ways, you know, like with limited tools in a very difficult spot. And I come home and I can't even put a Band-Aid on with approval. All of my skills, all of my usefulness is dismissed when I get out. And so that's just one little story, one tiny little story. But this over here is chaos. And so what do we do? What's our sculpture here? It's transformation through fire, projection of power through fire, transformation through fire. Same exact, but opposite emotions. And here, our job, when we come home, is to explore our inner worth, our inner goal, our inner rank, our inner schedule. You know, we have to know who we are inside, from the inside out. And that's what these transformations are about. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those transformations to make. And so this is the story of our art, but it goes deeper. Somebody just tell me when I get close to the end, so I can, but I could talk for 4 hours, and I don't want to do that to you. Right here, we have to take this. These models are 4 feet tall. They're beautiful models, and they took us 9 months to build. Mostly conversation. These. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Put it on my head. Does that help? And okay, so these are the full-scale creatures that we're working on. This is, I don't know, quite a while ago. They're getting much more complex than this. But the idea is that we're going to make these 2 creatures really big so that we can make what I'm going to call a sanctuary field of expression. In other words, we're gonna make a field where we put the dragon and we install, Bob likes to say we plant the dragon and the phoenix in a beautiful environment, and we don't know where this environment is, and we create what's called the space in between, and the space in between is where we walk into a depression. We walk into a depression under the ground. So when you walk in, let's say you're Danny, you come back hot from the war, you walk down into the underworld, and you look over at the dragon, and you look back at the phoenix, and you go, what choice do I want to make? Because I'm not going to kill the dragon. I mean, I can get it drunk, I can drug it, I can run it over with a motorcycle, I can drop it off a high wire line, you know, I can do whatever I want, but if I damage the dragon, I damage the phoenix. It's two parts of a whole. So a warrior walks down into the underworld, male, female, doesn't matter. You walk in and you look up and you see the two halves of yourself in the tension of the two states of life. We don't talk about this. As a civilian, I had no concept that we were destroying each other at such a deep level. And we give, you know, we wave flags, I love flags, but a flag doesn't fix the heart, the gut. And that's what this project is about, to walk into that and let it hurt so bad that we actually can start to talk about it. So this is not about civilians, it's not about veterans. It's about humans. Veterans are my entry, but all of us are struggling with this kind of separation in our bodies. And I know this because I struggle so mightily with it. My point being is, the best possible situation for a veteran is to have community and to have the civilian population walking in there with them into the underworld and going, what are we missing? What don't we understand? Do we have options? How could I help? How can I do much, much, much more than say thank you? What if I said, how are you? What if I said, what do you want to do today? Do you want to make the heart, or do you want to make the head? And I asked that question one day, and I'm going to show you a picture, maybe. I'm not sure, we don't have the computer here, but maybe I don't have a picture. However, we made a dragon's heart, and Bob made a dragon's heart, and I don't have it in here, but I can tell you where it lives. It lives right in here. And the heart was an act of love to build it. And you can reach into here and you can touch it right now, but later on we're going to be putting razor wire inside there, and we're going to be building a wound over the top of it, and you're going to be able to see the heart through the wound, through the razor wire, and you're going to know that a heart is in there, and it is soft, and it is beautiful, and it is loved. But it's protected. And the power of that image, I believe, can and evoke emotion and get us talking. So I'm gonna pop through some of these photographs real quick. And then I'm gonna tell you a story. Do I still have time?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is us working. We've had to come up with solutions for everything that we're doing. Like these are 20 feet tall, right? Right. So we don't know what we're doing. This is way beyond my pay grade. But as a team, as a communal force, we are figuring out the problems. Let me talk about community. We've developed a really nice community around here. And by nice, it is a real community. That means we have everything a community has. We have beauty, we have laughter, we have collaboration, we have fights, we have anger, we have rage. We could go to war. You know, we have everything in our community. And I was kicking myself because we have everything. I want it to be all nice. That's not real.
That's not real.
So this is real. We come here, we have to figure stuff out. We shower each other with sparks. We give, hey, what are you doing? You know, we do things to each other out here. And then, you know, we have something to laugh about. This is the beginning of the Phoenix out here. I'm going to tell you a really quick story about this. I wanted all these feathers to be beautifully combed and sweet, and it's like, because I'm a civilian and I'm just a goody-goody, right? But this guy here, I don't know where he is, he was a sniper in Vietnam. He carries a charge, and that charge is alive in him. And as an artist, the lead artist, if you will, I was trying to push him into my idea, and I was getting fried. I've been fried 100 times out there, but I was getting fried, and I went, what's the heat about? And the heat is, his vision of that Phoenix is what rules here. His vision has to show up. His feathers are alert and at ready. They are ready to fight that dragon over there. And they are equal and opposite in power. And it's interesting that the sniper is working on the Phoenix, and the medic is working on the dragon.
Wow.
I doing okay, Bob?
Doing okay.
All right. This guy here is building the tail. Just, you know, there's just wonderful, fun things to do. This is a place of doing and fixing and changing and making mistakes beyond belief, and then having to cut them off and pound them and heat them up and beat them back into the right place, and then go, what the hell happened? All of that goes on out there. Like I said, we have a community that is alive and pumping. This is Cypress. She's new to the team. I taught her how to weld. Well, that's an exaggeration. I showed her how to weld for 6 minutes.
Wow.
With a method I've been working with, and she welds better than I do.
Wow.
In 6 minutes.
Quick step.
There's something about youth that really helps.
Amen.
But we have a number of women working on the project, and I love their input. Okay, this is a couple of people working on the wings up there, and they're starting to put in all the structure. And it is a totally intuitive process. Everybody asks me, well, what are we gonna do next? And I go, you're gonna get up there and figure it out. Don't ask me, because I don't know, you know, but here's my idea, and then they go, no, I don't want that idea, that's not right. And I go, okay. So that's happens a lot out there, and my work is to keep letting go, and it's really hard to do that. Their work is to keep stepping forward And that's really hard for there to do that. And all of that creates an intimacy, and intimacy is a fearful place for veterans and a fearful place for all of us. I just have to say that out loud. Intimacy, love, is where you're gonna get hurt. And we hurt each other. I'm not gonna shy away from that. We hurt each other. But we're making a beautiful statement. This is just working on the neck here. Now this skin, all right, the skin on the back of the neck is made of a 1/2-inch rod, 1/2-inch steel rod. That's heavy duty. So the skin is a 1/2 inch thick, and then Mr. Bob back there, he developed the way to make this skin. And what it takes is a little weld. You know, he's doing little tiny beads of weld over and over again. And to make a little bit of skin takes forever. And that man loves precision. And he's an amazing, amazing artist. He won't call himself an artist. Will you call yourself an artist? No.
No. Never done it in my life.
Okay, that's the Phoenix. Now, all of you invited to come out. I'm just gonna kind of flip through these, and then I want to tell you what I mean by a sanctuary of story. And that's coming up. This is Dan. He's a naval man, and he has been working metal all his life. And I blessed the day that he walked in because he saved me many times. He made the face of the Phoenix, he made the face of the dragon, he made the talons, and he's in the shop right this minute making the other talons. The guy is a genius, and it's like I better take that artist thing off the back of my name and put it on his. This is a moment where we had a whole bunch of us together. That's not all of us. There's a bunch more, and our team swells and shrinks and swells and shrinks and goes over and over. It changes constantly. It's ever changing. And I want to. I think I did that one already. But I want to say something about these photographs. They're all from this fella here, Paul.
Really?
You know, he just walked into our realm and he gave us, you know, his amazing, amazing, amazing talent of taking those photos. And look at the face of that. The shape of that. That was Dan, who's now in the shop. And if you race over there, you can meet him. And this is us meeting under the dragon. So now I want to tell you just a story of just one story, maybe two. I'll just say that there are many times over and over when I panic. I'm in over my head. I'm afraid to do damage. I'm afraid that my understanding is too limited. I'm afraid it's too much. I'm afraid of everything. And yet I walk up on the pad every day when somebody's there. I have 27 steps to walk from my house to the pad where the shop is. And I figure out what we're gonna do. I got a plan in my head, and I ask the guy that's up there or the gal that's up there, what do you want to do today? And it's like, oh, new plan. How are we gonna do that? I remember the day we decided to make teeth, and I made up right on the spot, here's how we're gonna do it, like I knew what it was. Well, we started and it worked, but it was pretty iffy. So I wanna, we've been doing this project now for 13 years. I've been working on it, but with the big sculptures, with a bigger team. We're in our 9th year, well into our 9th year. So I have a personal relationship with most of these vets that's multi-year long and 3 to 4 days a week long out of those years. And lots of other things. So it's not like a therapy session, and I don't do therapy. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm an artist, and there's a big difference. But I have a relationship with them, and that relationship has been built over over listening and listening and listening and learning and asking and sharing, and trying stuff and failing and trying stuff and succeeding and all of that. And I have learned one thing. I know when a vet is going off. I could see it in their body. I don't know where that information comes from. But one day it was really cold, and I said, nobody's gonna come today. I'm gonna take my wife to her exercise class so she doesn't have to drive in the snow. And I left the shop. I love deeply. And he has that voice. And I go, why did I leave today? And he called me and he caught me. And I said, Terry, I will be back in 20 minutes. And I raced back and I said, go in. It's warm in the shop, you know where the key is. I left the fire going, go in and sit there and enjoy. And he went back, and I'm glad he did. And I arrived. And Terry is normally just boisterous laughter and just joy, and he's like Santa Claus. I love this man so much. And he hides his depression really well. And today I walked in and there was a darkness around him, a darkness in the eyes. There was a sadness, and I walked in, I opened the shop door. We walked out, two of us walked out into the cold. I don't know why, but we just walked out into the cold. Where did we go? We went in between the two sculptures, and he turns around to me. And he's kind of like bent over like this, and normally he's like this, you know, he's bent over like this, and he goes, when you kill a civilian, excuse my words, I have to use this word, when you kill a civilian, it fucks you up. And then he said, I'm saying, he's a writer, he wrote this book. I'm gonna, oh wait a second. He said, I can't write anymore. He's been writing for years, he's been rewriting this book many times. He told me how many, but it's more than I can remember. He keeps rewriting it. It's 2 feet from him at all times, so he can rewrite it and add pages, make explanations. And he says, I can't write anymore, and I want you to write something for me. And I said, Terry, I can't do that. It's not my story. And he says, write it. Write something for me. And he did this a while ago, years ago. He said, I wanted to make a sculpture of a Vietnamese little girl, and he wanted me to do that for him. I said, no, I'll stand by you, we'll do it together. So I don't have pictures on my computer, but in this, where these yellow slips are, if you pass this around, you'll see the photograph in there. And I think this one is on page 251. This one is here where that flip is, so you can pass it around. So there's a picture of that doll. And he wrote a book about that doll. And this is the civilian that he's carried for 50 years. And he's built a really beautiful life. And he's getting towards the end of his life. And it's coming up. And so I did write something. Against everything that I want to do, I did write something in it. And that writing came from 10 years of being with him. It didn't come from nowhere. I begged for it to show up. It showed up in the middle of the night. I didn't sleep that night like a lot of vets. And I called him in the morning and said, Terry, I'm going to come up and read this to you. And he said, no, read it now. I said, Terry, I'm going to come up and read it to you. And he said, no, read it now. And this is what I read.
You have about 5 minutes.
This is perfect. I can't write anymore, he said. All I can do is say the same thing, the same very damn thing. There is nothing new coming in. It's all repetition. I want that young girl, you know, the figurine I carved. I want her to look more like 3 years old, not 12. Will you tell this story for me? I can't write anymore. Yes, I said. I'll try, I said. But inside, unspoken, I wondered, is this right to do? Is it right? The very next day, these words poured out for Terry, about Terry. What happens when the right choice is the wrong answer? What happens when I'm slapped flat against a direct order on one side and a moral disorder on the other? What happens when I'm hammered by fear and fueled by rage? What happens when I'm acting as God, even though I am just a boy? Well, maybe I'm a man, maybe. What happens when I'm wrapped around the honor of my uniform, but not the honor of my soul? Oh, Brandy, leave me alone. Oh, Mary Jane, leave me alone. Oh, Christina, leave me alone. When the mere brush of my triggered and commanded finger parted her small frame, stirring her soul's memory to fly into my heart, and there to roost with me for 54 long years, and there to be my teacher, my imposer, my conscience, my vetting muse, there to tell me to celebrate my life as I wring the damping sadness from my night sweat brow. There to tell me I am okay, I am not evil. There to tell me over and over again, yes, yes soon, yes, sooner even now, we will fly together. That's what I mean by a sanctuary of story. If we can have that kind of place where a man can confess that piece of himself or a woman could do the same, or a civilian could do the same, and we could meet each other in that place. That's a sanctuary of story. That's what I want to build. I have no idea how to put it anywhere, but I know it belongs.